Some would say the vaccine mandates are getting out of control. Protests are popping up everywhere. There's even an OSHA deadline of January 10th. Wait a minute, what's OSHA? I'm confused. OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and yes, it's government driven. So now back to the story. Now, even New York City's starting to protest the mandates. I recently read an article by Enrico Trigoso and the Epoch Times. That got me thinking, so I wanted to share my thoughts with you, and I'm hoping that you'll comment down below and share your thoughts with me. At least 10 people were arrested for sitting in 2 different restaurants in Queens, New York, without vaccination proof and refusing to leave. Police said that they were charged with criminal trespassing after refusing several lawful orders. On August 17th, New York City started requiring restaurants, gyms, and many other businesses to check guests and workers for proof of COVID-19 vaccinations, as well as checking their photo ID. Not all New York City restaurants have complied with the mandate. Some are against it and have had their business severely affected because of it. Others don't believe it's their job to enforce it, but most big brands tend to comply. So what do you think? Why do big businesses comply and small businesses don't? Comment down below. I would really like to know your thoughts, and I'll comment back. I mean, do you think the burden should rest on the shoulders of the restaurants, the small restaurants, or do you think this is a large government overreach? I mean, isn't a restaurant hard enough to run as it is? And now adding this layer may place small restaurant owners at a major disadvantages to the larger ones that have huge infrastructures. I mean, this could even make it impossible for the mom and pops to survive. So many of them have gone out of business over the last 2 years. It's unbelievable. Sidebar, if you enjoy these drops, hit the like button. It's the only way I can see if these are enjoyable tidbits or not. And if you hit subscribe, I guarantee you'll make my day. So now back to the story. Here's where it gets super interesting, I think. On December 14th, a group of protesters went to the Cheesecake Factory in Queens, and a manager called the police after they didn't show their vaccine passports. They refused to leave and argued with the police that the mandates are unconstitutional. Police ended up arresting 6 people at the restaurant. The Cheesecake Factory wrote in a statement on December 15th, "The health and safety of our staff members and guests is our top priority, and we are complying with the local ordinance governance COVID-19 vaccine requirements." People, what are your thoughts here? Do you think this super chain really cares about the people it feeds, or do you think they just want to turn the biggest possible profit they can? Or do you think they took a lot of government bailout money and they don't want to have to pay it back? So in their eyes, they're not going to mess with the government. Just a thought. Write your thoughts down below. So let me tell you, the protesters, they didn't buy it. The protesters doubled down and released a flyer on the internet that said, "Hey, join us December 15th, indicating that they would go to the Cheesecake Factory again for another night of sit-in protests. The government that night closed. They had 20 police officers outside with 5 police vehicles parked just outside of the Cheesecake Factory. So the business is losing money. But think about New York City with all of that crime and all of those resources being sucked up there. The protesters gathered, saw the chain closed, and instead went to the Shake Shack right across the street. I swear to God, you can't make this up. At the Cheesecake Factory, they were arrested. At the Shake Shack, they were served drinks while the police and security only stood by the counter, and the core group of protesters sat at the tables for a while. Then they joined a bigger group outside the Cheesecake Factory with the megaphones and started their chants, saying, basically, "This is unfair. You should feed everyone." Don't you see how this is getting interesting and exciting? So, gubernatorial candidate Derek Gibson, a Republican and a member of the Proud Boys, was there. And, I mean, what does all of that mean? Goobered what? Well, goober, whatever that is, means that he, Derek, is going to be running for governor of New York City. And as for the Proud Boys, I don't really understand the definition of a Proud Boy. I heard it's a white supremacy or a nationalist group, but it appears Derek Gibson has a fair amount of color in his skin, so I'm not sure if that's correct. Please help me out below if you understand anything about the Proud Boys or Derek or anything. Don't shoot the messenger. Derek Gibson then was quoted as saying, "This is a mandate, not a law, and they send the whole force out to protect the Cheesecake Factory against people that are unvaccinated. They just simply want to eat a meal. That's discrimination," Gibson told the Epoch Times. The group then walked around the block and entered Applebee's restaurant inside Queens Center Mall. Applebee's, the same situation as the Cheesecake Factory. Basically, the manager called the police after the protesters didn't show their COVID-19 vaccination proof, and about 25 police officers, many with plastic handcuffs, asked them numerous times to leave. Protesters argued with them, and then police pushed them out, arresting 4 in the process. One of the arrestees was one of the leaders of the protesters, 30-year-old Josephine Valdez. I'm not sure if Valdez is also a member of the Proud Boys, but it would be interesting if he was. Mitchell Bosch was arrested for the second time in 2 nights. He was also one of the arrestees during the Cheesecake sit-in. A sit-in is a peaceful protest where people literally just sit in. The concept being that if enough people just sit, the government will get the hint that there are a lot of people that they're either going to have to arrest or listen to. Gandhi made these sit-ins famous in India. Bosch is an army veteran who served in Iraq twice and also in Afghanistan. So that tells me that he kind of knows combat. I'm all for the police. I back the blue. I believe in them. But all the issue is that they ended up telling us is that we were criminally trespassing, which we were not. Criminally trespassing is a higher threshold than it is just simply trespassing. So you have the police now posturing and making the charge sound a lot bigger than it actually is. Bosch then went on to say, the police said either you leave or we're going to arrest you. And we decided to take our stand. He then said, we're going to continue doing asymmetric warfare, nonviolent. He stressed that. We're going to continue holding rallies, and we're going to continue fighting for this. This is a 5 to 10 year war. They're trying to bring the will of the people down. Did he say 5 or 10 years? Oh my God, because the government is thinking January 10th vaccine mandate deadlines. This is another way, excuse me, of the protesters to make it clear they will stop at nothing to solidify their rights again. Bosch said, we're going to keep doing civil disobedience. We're going to keep going to jail. We're going to keep using the tactics that you used, de Blasio, in regards to bail reform and allowing individuals to get out of jail. Yes, I'm going to use it to my advantage. Now, just like BLM used it for their advantage and Antifa used it for their advantage, we're going to use it for good, and we're going to make a change here in New York. What do you think, guys? So now we have OSHA with a deadline. We have people protesting. We have some giant chains feeding everybody and some other chains not feeding unvaccinated. We have police standing by and we have police arresting people. What are your thoughts? Is this a powder keg? Write it down below. Thank you for watching. I'm Adam Guild. Stay safe.